Today, I want to take the time of my colleagues to set the record straight yet again about an FBI investigative report that's been generated that goes by the number 1023. And I do this because the breathless media is misreporting requires that I come to the floor to give a historical reorientation of the facts and the evidence. As I've said all along on the Senate floor, I and Chairman Comer of the House made the 1023 document public for this single purpose. That purpose is to force the FBI to do what the taxpayers pay the FBI to do, and that is investigate, in this case, the information contained in that document that goes by the number of 1023. It's all pretty simple. I didn't promote or vouch for the allegations in 1023 as the truth, like some confused Democrats in the partisan media have falsely said. I pushed the FBI to do their job because that's my responsibility to the taxpayers and the people of Iowa. Now, some confused Democrats and partisan media have returned to their favorite line, falsely saying that our effort to get the FBI to do their job is somehow peddling Russian disinformation. It's kind of like a nervous tick to all of them. For years, they falsely said the same thing about my and Senator Johnson's Biden family investigation, even though our investigation was based on Obama-Biden administration records and really on authentic bank records. Some Democrats in the partisan media apparently don't care about observing and reading the facts. Well, this senator does care about that. So let's discuss the facts of the matter that they either missed or more likely are choosing to ignore because it doesn't fit their narrative. The whistleblowers within the Justice Department who came to me said the FBI had this document, the 1023, in their possession now 3 years ago, June of 1920, 3.5 years ago, in fact, because that document is dated June the 30th, 2020. Those whistleblowers that came to me were right. Whistleblowers said the FBI considered its confidential human source to be credible. That confidential human source, which I'll simply describe today as the FBI source, formed the basis of the 1023. If you're following television, we now know the name of that FBI source, but until he was arrested, I did not know his name. The FBI said the same to Congress and used the credibility of that source, the credibility assessment of that individual, as the excuse to even withhold the 1023 from Congress when we first asked for it. Even Ranking Member Raskins of the House Committee confirmed that the FBI told Congress that the FBI source was credible. The FBI found their source so credible that the FBI gave their source the authority even to engage in illegal activity for the FBI's criminal investigation. And yes, I want to make clear, the FBI said that he could do illegal things in his work for the FBI. The FBI told him that he may even have to testify in court based on the information he provided. In fact, the FBI said that this source was so credible that the public release of the unclassified 1023 could put his life at risk. And then when they used the excuse it could put his life at risk for our releasing it is another excuse that they used. Now let me be clear. The FBI consistently and publicly vouched for their source. Then the other week, the Biden justice made this source's name public for the world to see. So if you watch television, you get his name off of television. Apparently, the FBI's excuse to withhold the document from Congress, as you can see, was pure smoke. Remember, the FBI said releasing the 1023 could put their employees' confidential human source life in danger. The FBI's conduct is, of course, obviously absurd, and a disservice to the American people. That means a disservice to the American people when the FBI doesn't do its job of following up on investigative reports, as they did in this case for 3 years. So you can see, those same whistleblowers were right about the FBI believing that their source was credible. Whistleblowers said the FBI source served as a source for many years, dating to the Obama administration, roughly 2010, as I recall. According to the Justice Department indictment, the FBI source worked for the federal government and was paid by the federal government. So again, those whistleblowers in justice were right. Whistleblowers said the FBI failed to investigate the allegations in the document. So let me refresh this history by giving you the timeline. According to the Justice Department indictment, the FBI finally interviewed the FBI source on September 27th last year. We made the 1023 public just a few months prior to July 20th, on July 20th, 2023. Clearly, the FBI finally acted because of our release of the document. In other words, we embarrassed them. And by that time, as I've said, by my timeline, the document was over 3 years old. 3 years they didn't do their job that the FBI ought to have been following up on. So the 1023 sat with the FBI collecting dust until we in Congress acted. My releasing the 1023 got the FBI to do its job that they should have been doing 3 years before. So I think it's legitimate in this political climate we're in this year, a presidential year, to ask the question, would Special Counsel Jack Smith have waited years to act if the 1023 was about former President Trump? Those whistleblowers were right about the FBI's failure to investigate. I started my oversight relating to the FBI's failure to investigate the 1023 on October 13th, 2022. So I didn't have the document in my possession. I knew about it from the whistleblowers, but what information I got from the whistleblowers without actually reading the document, I sent a letter to Attorney General Garland, Director Wray, and U.S. Attorney Weiss to ask this very simple question, and I quote from the letter: what have the FBI and the Justice Department, to include U.S. Attorney Weiss, done to investigate, end of quote. I also asked for an array of documents, including travel documents that the Justice Department has used to indict the source. And I also asked, before I had read the document, for the same records again. This would have been after we released the document, so I correct myself. I asked the same records again on October 24th, 2023. I said this on May the 3rd, a year earlier. What we don't know is what, if anything, the FBI has done to verify these claims or investigate further. I asked on May 5th, 2023, about the 1023, quote, I wish I could say that I knew it was true or untrue, end of quote. On May the 9th, 2023, I said, quote, my focus right now is on the FBI and the Department of Justice. What have they done with this document, meaning 1023, end of quote. On June the 1st, 2023, I said, quote, we're responsible for making sure the FBI does its job, and that's what we want to know, end of quote. I came to this floor in the Senate on June the 12th, 2023, to say to my colleagues this, and I quote, here, with this 1023 document I've been referring to throughout my remarks, the Biden Justice Department, FBI, must explain to Congress and the American people what, if anything, they've We're not accepting their word for anything. We're seeking documentary proof of what they did to investigate the matter or their failure to do so, end of quote. Then after Comer and I publicly released the document, I said this on July 25th, quote, I want to make sure what my oversight focus is and will be holding the Biden Justice Department and the FBI accountable to explain to the American people what they did to investigate and what they found. What did the Justice Department and the FBI do to investigate the information contained in 1023? Did the Justice Department and the FBI follow normal investigative process and procedure, or try to sweep all this under the rug because of political bias? More precisely, did the FBI and DOJ seek to obtain the evidence referenced in the document? Did the Department of Justice and FBI seek to interview individuals relating to the 1023, and if not, why not? If so, one way or the other, what did they find? And that's the end of the quote from what I said here on the floor of the Senate last year on this very subject. Let me say that one line again so everyone hears me. One way or the other, what did they, meaning the FBI, find? All these partisan media outlets, if they had a shred of intellectual honesty and decency, would report those facts and hold the FBI accountable for their failures. And of course, our congressional request after another, one congressional request after another, went unanswered to the Justice Department and the FBI. So, considering that deafening silence and the FBI's assertion that the source was credible, we made the 1023 public to force the FBI to do what they're paid to do their job. They were supposed to be investigating this matter 3 years ago and doing it not for Chuck Grassley, but for the American people. If Congress didn't ask for transparency and accountability, in other words, us in the Congress doing our oversight work, we'd break faith with the American people, just like the FBI didn't do its job and broke faith with the American people. And you know what else the Biden administration hasn't answered? My and Senator Johnson's oversight requests. Let's not forget, there's a larger investigative picture here other than just 1023. Senator Johnson and I released 2 reports in 2020 as part of our Biden family investigation. We gave a series of floor speeches introducing bank records connecting the Biden family to Communist China financial interest. Then on October the 26th, 2022, we sent hundreds of pages of those bank records to U.S. Attorney Weiss. So then this question is appropriate. To my Democrat colleagues and more importantly, the partisan media that's not doing their job, are those authentic bank records that Johnson and I made public, is that Russian disinformation? Now, Chairman Comer, Jordan, and Smith have built and advanced upon the foundation created by Senator Johnson and this senator. So here's the question. Where's the Biden Justice Department regarding those bank records and potential money laundering? Where's the Biden Justice Department regarding Biden family members registering under the Foreign Agents Act? Another question. The Biden Justice Department appears concerned about their FBI sources' contact with foreign nationals. So, where's that same concern regarding the Biden family foreign connections? Are the Justice Department and the FBI sitting on it, just like they did with the 1023 for at least 3 years? Here's another question to pose to the media and my colleagues. If we didn't make the 1023 public, would the FBI have interviewed the FBI source? Or would he remain on the taxpayers' payroll for another 10 years, continuing to inform the FBI, and by misinforming, I presume that's the reason he's sitting in jail now in Las Vegas, waiting trial, or waiting whatever they have to do to follow up on the arrest. What will happen to the defendants if this source's information was used for a conviction or a plea deal? This is really quite the mess for the Justice Department and the FBI, and it's one of their own making. My oversight investigations are done without regard to power, party, or privilege. And I back that statement up with asking you to remember I'm the senator that did a transcribed interview with Donald Trump Jr. when Donald Trump was president of the United States. That's when I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee. I also ordered my staff to interview other Republicans during my crossfire hurricane investigations. And you know what? If I had the gavel today, I'd bring more Bidens to Congress to testify, because the American people really deserve the kind of nonpartisan oversight that I've been conducting for years. And remember this, and it's pretty simple. If the FBI came clean years ago about this document 1023, we wouldn't have had to release that very document. I wouldn't have had to rely on whistleblowers to make this public. So this guy still could be working for the FBI for another 10 years. Instead, these people played games, withheld the document from Congress, and provided false and misleading information to Congress and the American people to not want to come clean on what they did with 1023. We all know that transparency in government brings accountability. Now folks are being held accountable because of my congressional oversight. My oversight will continue. The FBI has a lot of explaining to do for their continued shortcomings and actions in this case. When will the media ask the FBI to explain? I've just explained it for the American people. I'd like to see the media cover this instead of talking about Russian disinformation when this issue is discussed in print media and on television. Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor.